Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. That's me. You're you're Griot here to tell you a story. It's like, what time is it? Oh, 7:30-ish Eastern Standard Time. 1 minute and 11 seconds. Oh, it's an interesting time to be alive here at the crossroads of the universe. And what do you think's going to happen? If this little ceasefire takes hold, good things will occur. If the ceasefire is not established, the killing goes on. Not a good sign. If Vlad is stuck in a hard place, meaning he's lost almost 1 million people, dead or severely wounded, not to be able to re-establish as a human being, and will cost a lot of money to just keep going. He's blown through, I don't know, at least 60% of all his mobile military hardware. For all the years that this war's been going on, he has not established air superiority. So it's an interesting thing going on here in Ukraine, because Russia, their population, their demographics, within 5 years, they will not have people to fight a war. Going to North Korea didn't work out too good. And what they have, their existential fear, is the majority of their nation state, Russia, right? The motherland is very vulnerable to attack. It has been, for 1,000 years, easy. And that's why the Soviet Union, after World War II, took all the, Latvia, Poland, Estonia, Moravia, all those, everything as a buffer, right? And without that, Russia is at. So, what should be negotiated is that Russia becomes part of NATO, right? And Vlad wanted to do that in the early 90s. And Bill Clinton told, the KGB taxi driver bagman that, hey, that's not going to happen. We need Russia always as the boogeyman. That's why it was set up. That's why, Mr. Rothschild sprung Lenin and Trotsky out of the German prison to write Das Kapital, so they could manifest a loyal opposition to capitalism. And we don't really have capitalism. We have this crony fascism, and it's all right in our face. People can't pretend it's not what it is. And that is the great thing about Carrot Head. He is the gift, the game show host that just keeps on giving. Because he lies so much, he tells the truth. He tells more truth, or personifies more truth, or manifests more truth than any, political leader in the last 100 years. Easy. So we are at a place where things are becoming more exo.
Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of negative thoughts, especially during hard times? Maybe it's the weight of unanswered questions, feelings of failure, or the fear of what tomorrow holds. These thoughts can be overwhelming, leading us into a spiral of doubt and discouragement. But did you know that Jesus addressed this very struggle? His teachings not only bring hope, but also provide practical ways to overcome these mental battles.
This is true.
From the Sermon on the Mount to his intimate words to the disciples, Jesus shared timeless truths that can transform our inner world. In this video, we'll explore how the words of Jesus can help you silence negativity and renew your mind, even in life's most difficult moments. Stay with us because what you're about to discover could be the breakthrough your heart has been searching for. Do not worry about tomorrow, the power of the present. In the midst of life's challenges, our thoughts can become a battlefield. One of the most persistent battles is worrying about the future, an endless loop of what ifs and what will happen.
What ifs and what will happen? None of that matters. All that matters is love's co-creation in this moment, right? Oh, that's all that matters. The past is the past, right? And the future is not here yet. So, what are you going to do with your life? I have this top chat and live chat, right? So, somebody who's ever left there, say something, see if the chat works. Because I want people to be able to see uh, the chat like tomorrow when it goes up on my channel, right? Now, I haven't been able to figure out how to do that, and this is the experiment. No, normally I put it, I have it when I go live, it's top chat, and then I put it in live chat, thinking that that's where it has to be for it to show up. Anyway, um, sleeping on concrete is starting to wear on me. I mean, not like, gonna kill me or anything. It's just, uh, makes things a little more sore. And now that a whole new cold front is, I'm like a human barometer when the barometric pressure drops or goes up. Um, all of my joints are like achy. Anyway, ay, ay, ay. So, and my eyes water a lot too. Uh, so it's been somewhat cold. Today the low was about 8, and the high was about 22. But this afternoon it was almost 40. So tomorrow it's going to be warmer, bringing in some rain, which is not a bad thing. If it's warmer and it rains, it'll get rid of. There's a lot of ice. They haven't in all the towns around. They haven't in parking lots. They didn't do a very good job of cleaning the snow off, and then cars ran on it and then backed it down, and then it got really cold, and so all the parking lots, sidewalks are sheets of ice. So lots of people making their hips. So I'm being very careful not to do that. Anyway, how about somebody saying something? Otherwise, I'll give it a few more minutes and I'll go. Let's go back to Jesus. The real deal is just when you worry about something, just say, "Hey God, I don't have a clue about this. How about give me a hand?"
Jesus directly addresses this in Matthew 6:34, saying, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." These words hold a profound truth that challenges the way we think, especially when life feels uncertain. Jesus understood human nature and the tendency we have to look ahead with fear, projecting our worst anxieties onto a future we cannot control. But this verse is not just a comforting sentiment.
So that's why you shouldn't worry about what you don't know anything about. Right? Stop worrying about tomorrow. Stop feeling guilty and shameful about yesterday. Just do your best in the moment right here, right now.
invitation to live differently, to shift our mindset from one of endless worry to one of present trust. Imagine the scene when Jesus spoke these words during the Sermon on the Mount. Picture a crowd gathered on a hillside, many of them burdened by the struggles of daily life. They were farmers, fishermen, and tradespeople, living.
I didn't say you could go. Article 57 of the Shadow Proclamation. This is a fully established level 5 planet.
Jew, ask a Jew. Do you believe America is your country, or do you believe Israel is your country? The Israeli court said a person can only have one nationality. Is your nationality Jewish, or is your nationality American? And if your nationality you say is Jewish, then what's your country? Zionism is intellectually absurd. It's logically incoherent, and it needs to be exposed for that. We need to separate Israel from the Jewish people. The Jewish people are a group of people. They're all over the world. They share a common religion. The non-religious ones, you know what? Ask them what their Jewishness is. Whatever the bagels and lox, Woody Allen, doesn't make sense to me, but whatever it is, it is. Israel is a foreign country. It's the country of the Israelis. It has nothing to do with world Jewry. This identity thing, that has to go. It's the Zionist ideology that needs to be fought. Jew, ask a Jew. Do you believe America's your...
But you kept the clothes. Well, I just saved the world. The whole planet for about the millionth time, no charge. Yeah, shoot me, I kept the clothes.
Including the bow tie.
Yeah, it's cool. Bow ties are cool.
Are you from another planet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think?
What?
Other planets want to check some out?
Why me?
Why not?
No, seriously, you are asking me to run away with you in the middle of the night. It's a fair question. Why me?
I know, fun. Do I have to have a reason?
You always have a reason.
Do I look like people?
Yes.
Been knocking around on my own for a while, my choice, but I started talking to myself all the time. It's giving me earache.
You're lonely. That's it. Just that.
Just that. Promise.
Okay.
Get a power restraint on him, now!
Wrists tied tight enough to cut off circulation. And no idea if I'm going to live or die. It's definitely my kind of party.
Who dares reach our inner center?
You can take the mask off, Bianca. And just like that, I hopes were dashed against the rocks of bitter disappointment. My foe was no psychotic, more like a bunch of high school clowns. Wait, I preferred you with it on.
How did you get down here?
Rowan showed me. I tracked the watermark from the page down to the Poe statue. Then I solved the riddle.
There's a riddle? I thought we just snapped twice.
Well, aren't you the brightest in the bunch?
The Nightshades are an elite social club.
We have roof parties, campouts, the occasional midnight skinny dip. And Yoko's an amateur mixologist.
She makes a mojito. It can get pretty wild.
Wow, do you guys even have a bedtime? Last I heard, the Nightshades have been disbanded.
Yeah, the group kind of lost its charter 30 years ago after some normie kid.
The question is, what are we going to do with her? Only members are allowed in this library.
I said we invited her to pledge. She has a legacy.
After the crap she pulled in the poke-up, there's no way in hell. You talk about not making waves, she's a tsunami.
I'm not interested in joining.
Untie her.
I freed myself 5 minutes ago. Amateurs like you who give kidnapping a bad name. Wrists tied.
Who do you think is the most extraordinary scientific mind humanity has produced?
There is no contest. Isaac Newton.
Explain why.
Okay. He, working alone.
Earth was my first mission. I was home. On Olympia.
There is no Olympia. This is your true home, so world forge.
I can't pay rent.
And sociopaths join the Air Force? Certainly they can try. In our platoon, we had a guy who was quiet, calculated.
Look at your scars. The ones you hide. The ones you're ashamed of. They're not signs of weakness. They're proof of survival. Every scar tells a story of a battle you fought, a storm you weathered, a challenge you overcame. And guess what? You're still standing.
This screen, all right.
Clear as day.
Do you recognize that?
Looks like the contract I read before.
It is. There's a driver from a small town in...
I've been kicked out of restaurants by white dudes. Now, black dudes kick me out of places that involves guns and fists. White dude kick you out nice as pie. Sir, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Hey, he said he's afraid to ask me. Now, this is just a theory, but maybe, just maybe that's the reason that most newscasters are white people. Think about it. If you think of all the bad things a newscaster has to say, I would much rather hear that from a white person than from one of us. You've heard it. Today in Kosovo, babies were kicked like footballs. Monsters ate the corn. Famine, murder. We'll have Michael Sports right after this. I'm at a trip like, hey, sports is coming up. I mean, a brother scared the hell out of you. This just in. Oh, people dying all over the street. I've been kicked out of restaurants by white dudes. Now, black dudes kick me out of places that involves guns and
Shocking for me is because I'm an American Jew. In the Jewish lore, Jews escaped from Egypt, from the burdens of the Pharaoh, where they were slaves onto Egypt. They escaped, led by Moses. They wandered in the desert for 40 years, and then they conquered the lands that had other people in it. And when they conquer the land in the book of Joshua, it's literally genocides, one after another. There are named populations, and the instructions to the Hebrews that have come to conquer the land is kill everybody.
Hey, baby,
pretty
baby.
grim. A command
shaking?
of genocide. It's not we had a war to conquer what God promised us.
Hey, hello.
Hey. Keep playing. You are hot.
Hey, my.
Hey, my.
Hey, did you get that movie I sent you? You might even be in this movie. It's a movie about Studio 54.
Oh, when did you send it to me?
It's been over a week now.
Okay, and so is that in my email?
It's in your email.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
Dude, Reno, you might even be in this movie.
Could be.
It's about the rise and the fall and all the craziness and stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
And they never got a liquor license, so they kept doing a catering license, like for every single night.
For every single night, yes. They were. I mean, what's his name? Who is Donald Trump's lawyer? The real Cohen.
Cohen, well, he was.
Yes, right. So he was their lawyer too. He was a piece of work, that boy.
Yeah, I guess he still is. Lawyers.
They never die.
Shakespeare and the lawyers. Anyway, I just want to say hi and try to look for that movie. I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me go and look at my whatchamacallit here. My Gmail. Let's see. So what day would you say it was? I'm looking at January 3rd. There's Tom. There's Brent. There's Mark. What's your email again? What's your name? You're gone. He's gone. He went away. You disappeared.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm still here.
Yeah. So what should I look at? So I'm at December 17th. Where was it? December or January when you sent it to me?
I would say it's like less than 2 weeks.
Okay, so it's January.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
So
Well, darn it, I could try to find it and send it to you again.
Okay.
I just thought you'd like it.
What's your email? Are you on AOL?
No, it says Hotmail.
Hotmail.
Yeah.
You're a Hotmail, baby. You're a Hotmail.
Huh?
I said you're a Hotmail.
I can't hide it. I just the girl can't help it.
Yeah. Girls gotta have it. So what else is shaking? Yeah, send it to me again because I can't find it. Okay.
I'll send it to you again. I'll go to the computer right now and I'll send it right now. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Okay.
It's my Colorado friend. He's a extraterrestrial musician. Oh, look. Somebody said something. Are you in prison? Basically, I don't know what down where is means. Are you squatting in a abandoned school? No. No. This is a. It was abandoned. We wouldn't have light. We wouldn't have heat. No. This is a non-disclosed location. Heart of Cog. And this is just. We have so many clothes that people donated. Instead of me washing things, I just pick up something that doesn't smell. Right. But it does kind of look like somebody's. There's a little idea in prison. Yeah, like Art Bell's bunker, exactly. Most, there's so little difference between the architecture of public schools and state prisons. They're very, same kind of architecture. It's supposed to do the same thing to you. There's something about that 23, I think did I get a message? Yes, a movie for you. Yep. Okay, let's see. Open. Let's see. It's a movie. Let's see. Let's play it on Chrome or Google. Done. Open. Let's see. Let's try. A movie about Studio 54.
According to Wikipedia, starring Ryan Phillippe, Salma Hayek, Neve Campbell, and Mike Myers, the film focuses on the rise and fall of Studio 54, a famous nightclub in New York City during the late 1970s and early 1980s.
Play the movie about Studio 54. Oh, you got to pay for it. That's it. Okay. That's why I can't get it, because I have to pay for it. I don't have any I don't have any subscriptions. I don't have any platforms. I don't have any social media. I mean, this is it. This is all I use is YouTube. Um, One day I'll see it. I mean, I lived it. I was there, so I don't need to see the movie. So that's my Colorado friend who sent it to me, saying, "Hey, take a look at this," and I did. So there's nobody there. See, so there was. You guys were here. Are you squatting in a abandoned school? Nope. Are you in prison? Oh, duels rules. I like that. Jordan's number was 23. Okay. So when there's nobody here, there's one. Thank you for the thumbs up, whoever threw that down. I'm more interested in what you guys think about what's going on around us because this is. I keep saying this. 7 years ago, I started talking about the big splat, right? And I was saying that, hey guys, we are heading into a point of reference where the great present omni new neoliberal world empire is about to fall. Right? Everyone thinks it's America, but America is just a member of this empire, and it really isn't the empire, right? And it's really in a position. It really can't fall. I mean, no matter what economic thing happens, all you have to do is watch the theatrical event called Hamilton, and there's a song about the difference between debt and paying your bills. And debt is basically like having a piggy bank, meaning that debt is an asset. Right? And when I died and I liquidated everything and gave everything to the poor, and still had a few trinkets here and there, because I do live in the material world like the rest of us, at least in this present avatar. And as long as I'm here serving love's co-creation with not Adobe love, unconditional love of agape love, right? Not muscat love, right? There I am talking to you. And I'll drink a little of this. This is water with baking soda. Oh, yeah. It kind of gets your. Oh yeah, it's just. I like this. This is kind of cute book. What do you think? Kind of makes me look like Saturn. Anyway. Let's see. Close out a few of these guys. So we're in top chat. You guys actually are there. So when I finish this show and it comes back up, if I'm able to still see what you guys wrote here on the chat historically, good. I've learned something from this show, and that's a good thing. So the thing about material possessions is that that's all they are, material, right? And material is made from a frame, almost a program, and energy, and it's only really exists in that moment. Doesn't exist in the past, doesn't exist in the future, and so it doesn't have the relevance that love has. Love is not corporeal, and it's not material. And it's made up of an energy, a frequency, a lot more intense than that new pair of sneakers. Woof woof woof. Well, whoever sent me the link to this is Studio 54. Bang. Yeah. And they got everybody standing outside in front of the club. And they pick people who look cool.
What do you think makes a place hot? Like 54, what was the phenomenon that it became international? People flew in from all over the world just to go there. What made it such a...
I don't know. In a club, it's all about capturing a moment.
When you walk through those blacked out doors, you're in another world.
Anyone that was allowed in was totally free inside.
Steve and I had no idea what it would really mean, or that it would last only 33 months. Just captured everybody's imagination.
Steve Rebell and his partner.
Elizabeth Taylor or just about anybody can feel wonderful and good about yourself.
It's true. It was and that's what theater is. It captures the moment. And the guys who designed it, the architects, and the technicians like myself who brought it to life, right? And then the people who worked behind the bar, the people who served, the DJs, and there was a whole cornucopia of club people, right? There was, I forgot her name, but she was a friend of a guy named Chipmunk, and she would have parties at Studio 54. And that was one of the things. It wasn't just like it was open, or 6 nights a week, and you just came in. No, they had parties, right? And they did them for art events, and they did it for this event and that event, and that's what put all that stuff together, and it captured a moment, and that's what made Studio 54 different than anything else. Now, underneath, right, at the basement of that place had been a slaughterhouse, so there was some pretty strange stuff that. And on the other side of the coin, that thing had also been a vaudeville house, right, a theater, and a music performance space, and then a movie theater, right? And all of these things brought to it energetics that really had a space in it that made that thing come alive.
I love the nightlife, and I love seeing people have fun nights. There's nothing that makes me happier than to see the people having a good time.
Everybody that was there was a star.
Thanks, that makes me feel great. It does, because so much there came out of it, for Ian and I, that it's interesting some people think of it like that.
Steve.
The
2,000 agents raided the ship disco this morning.
Up to 10 years in prison.
What was your reaction when you learned that your partner had been arrested?
That it lasted 10 years is amazing.
I just go?
Yeah, try that.
Well, you know, I was wondering to myself why, after almost 40 years, you know, I would finally feel okay to talk about studio, because I hadn't talked about it, you know, at all. Now I'm at a point in my life that doesn't sting as much after all this time the way it used to sting. There's only two people that could have told this story, Steve and I. That's why I'm happy to finally tell the story as it really happened.
Hi. You haven't seen the book in a few weeks, so we should look at everything, and I have to ask you a couple questions.
I've never been in a room with so many celebrities. It was like numb.
So we need a picture here.
Yeah. So he's flipping through photographs, and there was tons of photographers, and I took many pictures there because I always had a camera with me. I had my Canon half frame, and I had my Leica, and it's interesting that my father threw away most of my photographs. I had books and books and books of negatives. Whoop, out they went. It's my house. I do what I want, right? And that's been my life. People have done things like that. Basically, I had no real auspices over my life. And people who affected my life basically were just agents of God, right? So God just kept bing, 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 as Donald Trump was saying, bing, 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 bong, boom, bing, bing, bing. Yeah, it was me. You know, ping, pong ball. And it's, you know, it was not a bad thing. I mean, there was a certain point I realized all this, and what was interesting that my photography, I didn't have to wait years. You know, when I would shoot something, and it would be, you know, put in a show or published. You know, people saw it, and the people who I respected would see it and would respond to me about it, and that's what all I really cared about. I didn't need to be famous. I didn't need to be Gary Winograd. I didn't need to be Annie Leibovitz. I didn't need to be my first, my training wife, right? And those folks needed that kind of resonance. I didn't, right? Because I live in the moment. So when I am responding, or like today, right? I went out and about. I wanted to buy a pair of shoes so I could take a shower. I can't no longer, you know, I need shower shoes. Otherwise, you know, it gets a little problematic for me to stand in the shower. Anyway, so I needed that and a few other things, and so I, you know, hit a number of stores, and I came across at least 10 people who I interacted with, and at a certain point, I said, "Oh, let me read your palm," and I read your palms, and I see things. I don't just read anybody's palm. Right? I don't interact with anybody just, you know, all the time. If, you know, I have three little guardrails. Don't get involved unless I'm going in to help the innocent, right? To protect the innocent, and that I have a workable exit strategy. number one. Number two, I don't get involved unless that individual or group of individuals will get something from my interaction with them in a positive sense. And the third is I don't get involved unless I can learn something that will make the situation better, and that I can bring that knowledge or that understanding to other situations. Right? So those are my, if you have guardrails, then whatever you do works out pretty well, and it doesn't matter whether you're rich and famous or et cetera, because if you need fame, you'll get fame. If you need wealth, you'll have wealth. I've always had the notoriety and financial security that I needed at any moment, right? And so I don't worry about it. I never really have. I can't really think of, how am I going to? I never was there. Because one of the things I learned from my grandma, and my parents too, was that I didn't spend money I didn't have. My brothers and sisters, they all kind of overextend themselves. And at a certain point, when I worked for the Desperate Lawyers, and, I was making probably 1,000th, or at least less than 100,000 what they were making. They were making 11-figure salaries, and still they were overextended and living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't, I was making a 5-figure salary, which was good enough for me because I only worked 11 weeks of the year to make that. And they would pay for, put me up in hotels, pay my, transportation, my food, my entertainment, because I was always with them. We'd be out at these fancy restaurants, they pay the bill, not me. We'd be out in nightclubs, they pay the bill, not me. I was part of the entourage. I was the person who, never got stoned, never got drunk. So I was at the very worst, I was at least the sober witness. Right? So, and I understand, these guys were lawyers, and I've been working for them for 10 years, so I knew enough about the law. And I started out way back when, in 2074, working at NYPIRG with lawyers, and that wasn't really my shtick. Was more the digging in the data to understand what was going on, right? And then the lawyers would figure out how to sue or how to litigate or how to negotiate. Well, I would be in the negotiating part because I was good with people. But within the construct of the law, right? And there's two laws, right? There's civil law and there's admiralty law, right? And that's why I got tutored in both of those. And that's kind of where I met, what's his name? Mr. Admiralty Law himself. Anyway, I'm kind of sleepy. My brain isn't moving as fast. I just drank a Dr. Pepper. I have to wait. I have to stay up now, at least an hour from that Dr. Pepper. Anyway, Michael Jordan's number was 23. Is that my Amazon Dr. Pepper thing? 23. What's it say there? It's a authentic blend of 23 flavors. Let's see what's in this thing. Carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Natural and artificial flavors and colors, sodium benzonate. This thing's like personified, symptoms, caffeine, uh, and a whole bunch of other things I can't pronounce. Anyway, don't forget natural law. Oh, so 113, what is natural law? You know, because when it is natural, there it is. Look, it's running through the glade. It's natural, right? But when we stop to describe it as a law, I think it stops being natural, right? It's like one of those little things. Yeah, what's a particle or a wave, right? So, and so, come on, 113. Give me a good definition of natural law. Not man-made. Okay. But man is describing what it is, right? Let's see what Google has to say. What is natural law? Natural law is a philosophical theory that describes a set of universal moral principles and rights that are inherent to human nature. It's based on the idea these principles are discovered through reason and observation, are not dependent on culture or customs. Ethics. Natural law is an ethical theory that states the humans are born with a moral compass. Really? That little psychopathic baby is born with a moral compass? Really? This theory holds, did what's his name, Dick Cheney, have a moral compass when he was born? This theory holds that everyone has the same rights, such as the right to live and the right to be happy. Really? I don't see that happening much. Those kids in the Gaza Strip, are they experiencing natural law of being free and happy? Natural law is legal theory and state that are universal truths and principles. Now, really, it's just like weather. It's like, it's just like, chemistry when we see things on the chart there. Natural law can also refer to the physical laws of nature. Natural law has been part of Western philosophy since the time of pre-Socratics. What is a pre-Socratic? It was also documented in the ancient Greek philosophy by Aristotle and the ancient Roman philosopher Socratic. Cicer, Cicero. Christian philosophers such as Thomas Aquinas and Albert the Great further developed the concept in the Middle Ages. Okay. Let's see. Lines are blurring for sure. Trying to define stuff. Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying. Sounds vague. Not man-made. But when, so that's not man-made over there, but here I am, man, describing that non-man-made thing. Like I said, sounds vague, trying to define stuff. The lines are blurring for sure, right? So that's where we are. That's what's really interesting about this moment right here, right now. We are at a moment where all the lines are blurred. What is the latest conspiracy? Swami. Lock the Mamba. Let's see. You got me. It sounded good, though. Well, I didn't try to get you. That's for sure. Because I respect and appreciate your presence here in the cadre, along with everybody else. conspiracy is there's so many out there. I mean, pretty much everything that humans do is a conspiracy, right? Unless you are ready to be a slave to love's co-creation, that's the only non-conspiratorial thing. Because so today, right, I was out and about, talked to a lot of people, about 10 people I talked to. Really, they were like, just the guy putting the things on the shelf at the supermarket, you know, the cashier, this person or that person. I just kind of spoke to 10 of them. And, I just started a conversation. And I had this great one. A friend of mine took me out to lunch. He's a great scholar. He's a historian. He's an archivalist. He's an archivalist of technology, science, and then into the mystery schools, right? So he's quite a fun guy. He loves taking me out to lunch, and we talk about stuff, right? So he comes up a question, and so we were talking about everything under the sun, and there were these two total homeboys who were old, you know. People would think they're Ku Klux Klan guys. What's her name? Hillary would call them, a basket of deplorables, all that. But these guys, and they looked apart. The Cargill, the white hat, the straw hat, really super obese, but into the comic strip look, right? And so my friend and I, he always wears just, someone once said, you look like an Undertaker. And I said, no, he doesn't. He has herringbone and green and gray slate. No. If he was an Undertaker, he'd be dressed in black. No. But so we were talking about clothing stuff. And this guy, they're just in the next table. And I say something to him. And we start talking about, because I'm wearing this big puffy coat, right? And he goes, "That's a woman's coat, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "How do you know?" He goes, "Well, you got that at Walmart, didn't you, about 4 years ago?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I bought it there too." And he goes, "Isn't it great? Women's coats, the bottom of the coat goes down to the middle of their thigh, not the middle of their back." And he went through all of the reasons. He goes, "I have pink shirts and I have these screaming yellow pants and I go, "And you bought them at Walmart because women have a thing called fashion and stuff goes on their shelves every 26 days, and they got to get rid of the stuff that was on the hanger and it's not moving. So instead of, I said, "What did you pay for your coat?" He goes, "I paid about 12." I said, "Well, I got the last two that were there. One was screaming canary yellow, and the other one screaming, here it is, this pink thing, but I haven't washed it since, so it now looks more red than pink." And he started laughing. He goes, "Half the clothes in my closet are women's clothes." And we're in this kind of, not a fancy restaurant, a working man's kind of place. I mean, it's just packed because they got really good sandwiches, good soups. Anyway, so we're going on about this, and I was talking about the Harvard code study that I was in. I said, "You know why girls wear pink and boys wear blue?" And they go, "No." I said, "Because blue is a color of aggression, and pink is a color of submission. And now the girl, she's not looking at herself with pink on, but that young boy there, he's looking at that little girl in pink, and he is being put in a submissive state." And and then the four of us started talking about relationships between men and women, and that they really, laugh at, young people who get together and get married, and then, where the guy goes, "Oh, well, she's such a bitch," and the woman goes, "All he does is watch video games," and whereas we older guys have already been through that and realize that that's how girls and guys are, And the guy who's the smartest and gets along with women the best is when they understand what women are and what they want. And instead of, you know, women getting to the point where they're bitchy, if you listen to them the first time and respond honestly to what they're requesting, they won't be bitchy. And conversely, if you're a guy who likes to play video games and you get your girl interested in it, she'll, you know, the single shooter game, she'll love playing that, killing you, you know. So we were, the four of us were going on, and we're surrounded by about another 10, 15 tables each with about four guys in it. There were a few girls over on the side, and they were listening to what we were saying. And these were all people, all Christian, all Donald Trump, all MAGA, all deplorable baskets. And we were having one of the most amazingly creative, gender interesting conversations, right? Because we weren't woke and we weren't, you know, siloed. A questionnaire asks your, hey Swami, remember to put it in capitals so I can read it. Even with my glasses, I can't read this stuff. I get married. Are my private parts still private? Please elaborate either point of view. Let's see. A Anahu question asks your constitution. If I get married, are my private parts still private? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Every woman who ever was intimate with me, and that's quite a few, my private parts were theirs. And they wanted me to service their private parts, meaning to get down and dirty. And all the women I was with all thought I was the greatest guy that they ever had sex with because I was their best lesbian experience, you know? Instead of just like huffing and puffing and then falling asleep, I spent hours, you know, accentuating the ecstatic pleasure of eroticism, right? Because that's what gave me pleasure. And then they would, you know, own my private parts and do things to it that most people would think, my God, what are they doing to that poor guy? No, that's pretty good, you know. Like, I don't know how my training wife figured out, but she would say, you know, you have splinters in your penis. I said, what? And she would just like squeeze, you know how people squeeze zips? She would just squeeze, you know, on my, and it would get it bigger, you know, people, how to, you know, turn your little guy into a big guy. Well, she could do it, boy. Just squeezing those little splints. She used to call them splints. And then she'd have her way with me. Because, you know, she called my penis Stan, right? And when he stood to attention, that was Stan the man. And once Stan became the man, she could keep him going for a long time. So is that enough, Swami? Is that elaborating enough for you, buddy? So the real deal about anything is respect. And in intimacy, respect is the most important thing. Friendship, you know. Breathe with me. Yeah? You're very pleased with the answer. So come on, give me those thumbs up. There's only one thumbs up. There's four of you. Come on, let's see some thumbs up. Thanks. And these comments, I hope these will stay on the show because I'm using, normally I have it in the live chat thing. Now I have it in the top chat, right? So hope it sticks with the show. And 1 hour and 10 seconds. I love it when that happens. I'm afraid I may use the wrong finger. Okay. I'm wearing my glasses. I get close enough, I can read it. But you just have to hit the cap locks. That's all you got to do. And later on, guys, if you could leave some comments on the comment, right? Tell other people to watch the show. Let's get a few more subscribers. I'm not even at a point where I can monetize this thing, but it doesn't matter because I basically don't spend money I don't have. So if I don't have the money, I don't spend it, so I don't need it, right? You know that logic? That's an interesting logic. So do you hear people use the term "and so" a lot? Is that something that's the common denominator within any singular text of conversation? Or because I have a buddy of mine, and I've gotten him into listening, right? Because he said, "You've changed my mind. My whole life, my brain is." And so one of the things he does now that I've got him to do, because I do this, I listen to everything, right? I observe everything. Now, I can tell you a long story. I can go on and on and on. But I do that in a way it's like sonar. I tell the story, it goes ping, ping, ping out into the World Wide Web, and I get responses, energetic responses, and ones that you guys write down, which is, I like both. And when I'm seeing somebody in person, I'm picking up energy, like a cold reading, right? So like the girl who's behind the cashier, and I'm looking at, there's three people in front of me. I got the little basket. I'm waiting in my place, and I'm watching this, and I'm watching the interaction between that person in front getting checked out, and then the next person. And then I'll say something like, because I'm in the motorized little thing, and I'm obviously I need help. And if you do that, like if I were to need to find something in a place, like the other day, I went to a pharmacy to look for magnesium citrate, right? Couldn't find it at the supermarket in their little pharmacy part, so I went to it. And so there, everybody's back there with their white coats and doing all kinds of stuff, and they started asking questions about this, that, and the other thing. And there's two pharmacists back there and about 3 techs. And I start asking questions, and the one pharmacist, she's really smart. She's the smart one. The other pharmacist, he's older and he's been around, and so he has some experience. And the other guys were a mix of whatever. But as I'm talking about different compounds, I said, "You guys do compounding, da 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 da," and they were like, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm just trying to find." And this one, the one who's like, "Well, it's just right over there." I said, "Where is that?" And she goes, "It's over there." And she's getting more annoyed because she goes, "It's over there." And the guy who's like the head guy, and then the second in command, and then the 2 or 3 ones who are somewhat smart at what the head guy's job, they're watching the stupid one. "It's just over there." I said, "Listen, I'm blind. I can barely walk. Is it at the top or is it the bottom? Is it in the middle? What aisle is it? What number is it?" Right? And I tried to get that person to be. I said, "Well, just go over there and look." I said, "I can't see." Right? Well, what do you mean can't see? She's being as, you're not supposed to. I don't want to call myself handicapped, but that's why I asked you guys to put everything in large things so I can read it. Anyway, but I don't say, "Oh, I'm handicapped." Right now. Anyway, so I said, "Fine, I'm going to go over there." And basically, I know that since I can't really stand very well, and if I bend over, I'm going to go dizzy and go unconscious, and I'm going to fall into that shelving unit, and I'm going to knock it over, and the space between in the aisles between each of those, I'm going to knock this one over, which is going to smash into the next one, into the next one, and the next one, and 3/4 of all the stuff in your store is going to be mixed up together on the floor, and then my lawyer's going to be suing this corporation, and you'll all lose your job. And the head guy goes, Larry, shut the fuck up. And he basically says, sir, come with me. And he goes and he finds exactly what I'm looking for. Right. And when we're over there, I read his palm. And he's like, and he goes, where do you come from? I said, around here. He goes, you weren't born here. So, oh, no. I said, no, I'm from many places. And so we have a very nice, interesting conversation. And I go, so how long have you done this job? And he goes, too long. And so I get the stuff, and I go up to the counter girl, who's quite attractive, and maybe early late 20s, and I had that one thing I wanted, because all the other stuff that they had for me that I was asking lots of questions about was just too ridiculously expensive. I knew if I went to Walmart's or some other place, I could get it at a tenth of the price, or Ingles, or near me, there's the one Ingles store has a really great pharmacy, and the pharmacy guy likes me, and always I walk in, he stops whatever he's doing, helps me out because he wants to talk to me about something. Right? He always loves to talk to me. And my doctors are the same way. I have all these great doctors because they love to talk to me about stuff, and I give them a good insight into what they're talking about. So that's why they take care of me. But our medical system should not be based on that. Not everyone can do what I do, to get people to take care of me, to get the services I need, to get that kind of stuff, because I'm not worrying about it, because I'm serving God. My only concern is to serve God. And everything I need will be taken care of. I've totally, after I died in 2014, I got rid of everything. I basically said to God, okay, God, I don't have a clue what you want. You're in charge. I'm just following your lead, right? And it's been truly amazing. Has been annoying, has been this, has been that, has been troubling, and there's been a lot of stuff that if I had been your average dude, I would have worried myself sick, but I didn't, because I let God take care of it all, right? I'm here to serve God, right? And not God like, the big G, old white guy up in the clouds, sitting on a golden throne that shits on everybody. No, God as the covenant of love's co-creation. That's who I'm serving as a doula of agape love. She needed a hug. Yep. So, and she wouldn't. I was going to go here. Let me get away from me. Central, la 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 la. Right, and like I said, the head guy doesn't come with me. So, and that's an interesting life. Now, if everyone did that, the people around BB Rebozo or BB, what's his name, Yahoo, that's all he needs is some guy like me to say, hey, buddy, why don't we try a different tact on this one? Yeah. And about a cowboy forming a special bond with his mare. Yes, I mean, people do that all the time with their animals. If you have ever been with a shepherd and dogs, or a guy who's, out there in Alaska who's a musher with his sled and the dogs. Yes, right. When I worked on farms, I just have this empathetic thing with any warm-blooded creature. Like when I lived in Florida, I told you my lawyer friend and I and his wife had or my two lawyers, they're both lawyers. We got this really beautiful building in Stewart, and I kind of fixed it up, but it was kind of their money. I had certain investment into it, so when we liquidated that, I got my share. But we had it for 5 years, and it was great, and it really didn't take much. We just had to clean it up, and those guys were anal retentive, and I was, technically adroit, right? So we made a great team. And I could go find the right, like that one thing. Why we bought the thing for so cheap is because the sewer right where the thing was broke, and it smelled like shit. Nobody wanted to buy that thing, So it just stood there for a good 10 years. And once I found it, and once he went and closed the deal, he was closing the deal, and I was driving around trying to figure out how to fix this. And I met this guy saying, I'll work for food. And I, took him over there and said, "So, how about this?" He goes, "Just the right guy. This Mexican buddy of mine. He does, he digs ditches and fixes drains and sewers." And he brought him over, and this guy was it. He had four guys. They had one of those chainsaw things that had the blade that cuts through stone and anything. And so, within 8 hours, we fixed everything. At a cost of about $1,100 in materials, fixed it. Right, the smell went away. Right, about 2 miles of the intercoastal cleared up. We were the one spot where there wasn't a algae bloom, and where porpoises, flipper would come by. So we had a very nice little marina there where you could have your big yacht right off where we had the big lawn and the pool. I mean, it was, it's like a 10,000 square foot, what was known as it had the white columns. It was like, the house that the master would have, and it had a deck all the way around, big deck, right, and covered deck, right, and it was a ground floor, and so gigantic big living room with the dining room over here and a kitchen over here, 2 bedrooms over here, upstairs 4 bedrooms, right, and they had their own deck up there, and then on top of it was like, the crow's nest. It was really a beautiful thing. There's a pool over here with a pool house. We bought that whole place for $11,000, 4 acres. It was unbelievable. 08 when we bought that. Right? I think they sold it for $3 million. Right? And when I left, I got a cut because they didn't sell it until later when they got to $4 million. And they sent me some more money. Right? And that's before I died. So that's kind of how I roll. I don't really worry about anything. I stumble into stuff. I do my best, which is usually far better than most people ever do. And that's how I navigate life. And that's all you have to do. Turn everything over to God. Not say, praise God, praise Jesus, praise God, praise Jesus. No, that's a transactional. You're like licking green stamps on and putting them in a book. No, you turn your life over to God. You don't let your ego. And when I do this show, it's not because of my ego. I do it because, usually there's a big space between shows, right? Normally that's because when I'm over in the deep green, I got to now drive 40 miles instead of 6 miles or 2 miles to use the internet, right? But now I'm staying at an undisclosed location that has the internet, and I can do it. But even that, I don't do a lot of. I could be doing it 24/7, but I don't. So maybe 1 or 2 a day, maybe maybe not one. I don't do it a lot. I do it when God says, "Okay, hey, why don't you see what the kids are interested in?" Let's see. Recently read a story about a cowboy forming special. So yes, I worked in when I was younger, and I would hitchhike or ride the rails around the country, like between 1964. It's the first time I was a freshman in high school, and I got thrown out of school. So next year I was going to go on to another prep school, and I had to go to what you call it, summer school, right? To like take a bunch of courses to make up for getting thrown out of the first school, right? And I took physics, computer graphics, and this is 1964. There were no such things. But the guy, the priest who was teaching the computer programming thing, worked for at Bletchley Park, breaking the Enigma machine with Turing, right? And so this guy was brilliant. And so there was everybody in the class was a senior, was going to go on to MIT, and me, a freshman, right? And the priest liked me the best because I was the person who constantly thought outside the box, constantly went to him, asked him about this, that, and the other thing, and had really long conversations. So with that guy, I got an A. There was another priest that was teaching physics, but he was totally about geometry, Euclid. And so he taught physics and chemistry. So I was taking chemistry, physics, and computer programming in 1964. And I got an A in all those courses. And the rest of the courses, and I could speak Latin, but I wouldn't take the test. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. Right? And the literature stuff, we were taking medieval literature, and I had read, Chaucer and Shakespeare and all of those guys, and the other guys in between, Thomas Aquinas and others. And I would write stuff coming from what's her name? There was two female theologians of the time that were more brilliant than any of them. And there was this one woman whose father was the architect of Notre Dame. And so she wrote about Thomas Aquinas from the point of view of an architect. It was brilliant. And so I was writing everything about those guys from that woman's point of view. And the Jesuit priest lost his freaking mind. I could give you a lesson in that, I would. Right? So all those courses, I got F's in, even though I wrote some pretty interesting stuff. And the guy who was head of it, what's his name? I forget his name, but he was, the high ranking of the, Deus One, and that's why I got in there. He liked me. He thought I'd be good for the, and my godfather Cardinal Cushing was his buddy, and so they both thought that I'd bring some fresh air to the sanctuary, and but the other guys, the other Franciscan Jesuits, just wanted to kill me. So, but they had a farm there, so I had to work on the farm, and you'd get punished. I'd had also worked in the kitchen. I was also, and they had waiters, and in the dining room, the waiters weren't, we couldn't eat. We had to stand there and wait on the guys on the table. Then we would, eat the meal before them in a rush. And they had waiters it's called waiters. So I was a waiter, and kitchen staff, and farm staff. So we had cows, and we had horses, and we had sheep, and goats, and my job was to muck out every stall, right? And so that meant that I had to get the animals out and put them someplace so they wouldn't run away. And I basically, when I first started doing it, I became their buddy. I found out what they liked to eat. Some like carrots, some like apples, some like sugar cubes, and some liked other things. And so I would learn what they liked. Some liked being brushed down. Some liked their ears, being rubbed. Some liked their manes being braided. And I did all those things to those animals, and I had a real close relationship with all those animals. There were 4 female cows that needed to be milked all the time. I milked them, and we had no machine. I had to do it by hand, and so I would. I found these gloves that were great. They were. I don't know if they were rubber or latex, but they were, that kind of glove. But they were thick, and they were kind of very soft. So I found this stuff called no, what's it called? It's a salve, and so I would put the gloves on and put the salve over the gloves, and then I'd work on their tips, and they loved that, man. It was like, oh, it was warm and smooth, and they loved that. And so, and by learning about those cows, I transferred that to other mammals like women I would date, right? Do the same kind of thing. Like my training wife, right? The only time she could have really good sex is to have makeup sex. So she'd have to pick a fight and then that. And then at a certain point, and I would never, I'm a logical guy. My first wife said that I was Spock, that I was a compassionate computer. She goes, "You're really sweet. You really love you take care of everyone. You make sure that everyone's happy, but you're always analyzing everything." I said, "Yeah, that's me." But what? So when I'm like, fucking your brains out, I'm analyzing what you like, and you're screaming and yelling more, deeper, harder, and I'm doing it right. So what's the problem? Anyway, so I realized at one point she's just picking more and more fights. And at one point, I go, "Listen, I've got this figured out." She goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "What you like is makeup sex. You haven't had a boyfriend that has ever gotten you excited until you are screaming at each other and then you have sex. So what we're gonna," I said, "when I was in high school, I was a wrestler. So what we're gonna do is basically I'm gonna go get some wrestling mats and a big thing of Crisco, and when you get at this point, you're gonna start taking my shirt off, right? And that'll be the signal. And then I'll take your shirt off, and then I'll slather some of this Crisco on your breasts, and then you'll slather some of that Crisco on my stand, and then we'll get down and be Greco, and within minutes we'll be screwing." And that's what added an extra 8 years to our marriage. To that. And she loved doing that, and she loved doing that in public, meaning she loved doing it. And we would do it in subways. We would take the Staten Line ferry. We'd go take the 7 train down and start this kind of what they call that petting. And by the we get down at like 1 in the morning and get on the Staten Island ferry and find a corner in on the subway, in the ferry where there was nobody, and this is way before they actually had TV cameras or anything, and we would, bring a little can of Crisco and go Greco. She loved that, and I figured out, all the women in my life, I figured out all the things they love to do, and I would do it with them. I explain it to them, say it, and that's what women like. They like to be listened to. They like to be appreciated. They like to be, So I had this, my second wife, who was a fashion designer. I've had 3 fashion designer wives. Not that they were designer, they were in the business. One did handbags, one did clothes, and the other did jewelry. And they were all top end, right? They sold their stuff off to Neiman Marcus. Anyway, my which wife was it? Which they all liked doing something. Oh yes, my second fashion designer wife, right? So she made these like clothes lines that she would sell wholesale to Neiman Marcus for about $1,000 a garment. So she's wholesaling it to Neiman Marcus for $1,000. Neiman Marcus is selling it to their customers for $5,000, right? And it was shirts and dresses and pants and you name it, shoes. And one day, I'm working on a construction site for Mike, meaning it was a union crew, and I was running the crew. And I was, I don't know, I guess I was 30, and it was a 20-story concrete steel building that was going to be condos, and we were putting in. Someone had drilled all the holes, and we put in one of the crews put in the service from the Edison box, put to where all the meters were. Someone drilled all the holes and put the risers in, and we were setting, and that pipe went up to about the story before the story was going to be. So we were setting a story's worth of pipe and a panel and sub panels, right? And then the subcontractor would put in the walls, and then we would run the lines after that. So we're in the process of doing that. So we're there for a week, and we're going to do all 20 floors, right? So every 4 floors, I have a little place where I have a table and lights to light it up, and power for whatever tools. And on a union site like that, no one gets electricity unless it's given to them by the electricians, right? And whenever I was on a job, I never held anybody up. I made sure that we put in power on every floor. That was the first thing, but we put all the temp in for everyone from the get-go, right? So everyone would be happy. They didn't have to come and beg us for electricity. It would be there, right? And so all the other crews would right off the bat be, wow, these guys are righteous. They're not like the other jerk-offs, right? So anyway, the job is running fine. The guy, as a general contractor, is happy as a clam because there are no headaches, no nothing, no arguments. Everything is running smoothly. I'm looking at the whole job. I mean, I'm doing other people's jobs. I'm thinking, oh, we're going to do this, and the plumber needs to do that because I'm looking at the blueprint. So I go to the plumber and go, so we're going to do this, and the guy's going to, we got a subcontractor who's going to cut the holes through the concrete. Your stuff is like, when they're doing that, why don't you just talk to that guy and give him a few bucks, and he's right there. He will do it for you. And, it would make the job easy for everyone. So everybody, the air conditioning guy, the steam guy, everybody who had to do anything, we worked as a team. And most construction things in New York City don't work that way because most of the people who are the clients are guys like Donald Trump, the total jack-off. So anyway, I was a commodity that everyone loved, right? So everyone's like, knows who I am. They see how we're doing it. Anyway, so the whole building is pretty much, topped off. Concrete's there. And buildings like this, so they're going to have elevators in them, right? But they're not. That's the last thing to work. So they still need elevators, but, so they have in New York City, they put these rails on the outside of the building before the cover of the building goes on. And these are temporary elevators. There's usually 2 of them. And they're pretty big, the big cage. And it brings all the stuff up and down, right? And there's usually a crane on top. But once the building gets topped off and once all the big stuff has been laid in, they take that crane down, and it's just these elevators. So anyway, we're on about, above the 10th floor on one of these little work sites. I have all, with a wooden plywood table and all lights, and all the different crews are around there, and there may be 100 people working on the whole building, and there's, maybe 8 crew chiefs, and there's a GC crew chief, and the architect's crew chief, and we're all at this table, and I'm going, and they're letting me be the strategist of how we're orchestrating this whole thing, right? And so we're going along and doing really nice, and I hear the gate of this outside elevator, boom, and it stops right at our floor. Gate goes up, and I hear this click, 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 click of high heel shoes, and there's my wife, right? And she is in this hot outfit of, her mini skirt is like, 14 inches above her kneecap, it's like right at her hoo-hoo, and you can see her areolas, and she's like, woo, right? And she's about 5'7". She's, not really a midget, but she's not a basketball player. But she is like, everyone's like, and even the lesbians are like, and she click, 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 and she's got the little hard hat on her hair, and she's got this big box with her name, corporate name on it. And she walks up to me and she puts a box on my desk and opens it up and takes this jumpsuit and it's made out of Italian leather, right? And it's on the inside silk. Now she knows I don't wear underwear, and she goes, "Take off your clothes," right? And so I do, and she has this nice little piece of paper. She puts it on the floor, and she goes, "Take your boots off and your socks off." And so I'm standing there naked, and she puts this thing, and it's got this like beautiful little plastic zipper, so it can't even, like scratch me or anything. And it's this leather, and she has a factory, and I've fixed it a zillion times for her. Like on the weekends, and something blows out because it's up there in the garment district, and the loft is like 70 years old, and everything is ancient, and she had the money doing things. So I rewire this, rewire that, fix her. That's where I got really. I used to fix my mother's sewing machine, and she had the real super industrial sewing machines. So I would, I could do everything, not just the electric motor, but everything, mechanics on the inside of the bobbin, you name it, I could do. So, she is going on. She's seen me work on her place electrically, and so she sees me wear my little, and I have a tool pouch, and sometimes I wear it when I'm going to do a certain type of work. But most of the time, I just have a pair of pants that I have my side cutters and a battery-powered screwdriver, and that's about it. And my little tester and a flashlight. That's usually my tools. Right? I have a box over there with every tool known to man, but and I have it right on my table. So, and whatever I'm doing, I lay them out just like I was working as a doctor in a hospital. The tools are right there. They're not like, oh, where did I put that? It's always right there. And my helpers usually put it right back where it's supposed to be. So anyway, so she knows how I work. And so she's made me this jumpsuit that has pockets instead of wearing, a tool pouch, that causes your pants to pull down. She has pockets over just where they should be. And she has these little lightning bolts with rhinestones. And it just, I look like, what's his name? The guy in the 1930s space thingamajig. Anyway, the guy who was always against Ming the Magnificent. Flash Gordon, that's what I look like. Anyway, she steps back, looks at me, and goes, and she walks, click, 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 walks away, and stops and goes, "We need some escarole. Bring home some escarole." I say, "Okay, sweetie." And I go like this, and she smiles, turns around, and comes over, and we start swapping spit. And I say, "I really, really like this. Thank you very much. This is all right, She will, I'm making you two more, so you always have one of these to wear to work." I said, "I love you, honey." "I love you, sweetie." And I was called her honey. She called me sweetie. So clip, 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 away she goes, and down the elevator. Now, the guys who are crew chiefs are going, "How did she get up here?" Because you're not this big sign, authorized personnel, no one else, hard hat area, union, and she just, that was her. She could do whatever she wanted. She just, walked straight up, went past the security guy, went up to where the elevator guy, and the guy said, "Well, I'll take you up there, but you need to put that hard hat on, right?" And he's got high heels as high. Anyway, so she click, click, clicks, gets on the elevator, zoom, goes down. And everyone's like looking over the side, looking at her walking away towards 7th Avenue. And this one guy goes, "Boy, you're a pussy whip, man." I looked at him and I said, "Buddy, you wish you were." Right? And everyone else kind of like, we're going like this, because when a woman like that has that kind of attention towards you or me, I give them 100% my attention, respect, and appreciation, right? Gratitude. And that's why guys never get laid. That's why I don't think about sex. It never is a problem. Even at my age now, it's not a problem. Right? And I'm not, I never really thought about it. Masturbation was, once in a while I was a little horny, sure, but it was not like 14 times a day. That's called an addiction. Anyway, uh, special bond with his mayor. So that's why I had a special bond with my mayor. This guy. But glad you are here while I am cooking. Lindsay. Um, so I bought myself a little toaster oven so I can bake and cook things instead of just nuking them. And I bought some vegetables and stuff. So I'm gonna, instead of just opening up a can and nuking it, which is I can, season it nicely and throw in some pasta and it's a nice meal, but it's still not like cooking a meal, making a meal. Anyway, so that's kind of where it is. So again, go back to the main thing. There were like 10 people here just a minute ago. Now there's only one. Is that you, Lynn? You're still here with us? The bottom line about where we are right now, it's a great opportunity. You should get with your friends. You should start talking about your neighborhood, your neighbors, your community, how you can make it better. We all do like what, so, this is what we got going on where the non-disclosed thing is like, this is the thing that grew out of the event. We were the only people who stepped up and took care of 42,000 people. Right? Well, probably 6,000 people, but they came back many, many times. We had 42,000, I forgot what we call it, but everyone who went through the door, they had to come to sign in so we could show how much service we provided, right? So can't trust YouTube numbers. This is very true. Because I've ended many of these shows and it would say 78 people watch, right? And then, I'd close out the event and I would come back, it takes 9 hours or so. And it'll be there and it'll be there in 100%. And it will say, instead of 78 people, it'll say 14. It's like, I don't care. But they put the shows up there. They're all there. You go to my channel, they're all freaking there. And that's why I keep telling you guys, go onto my channel and download whatever ones you want. Put it on thumb drives, put it on floppy disks, put it on CD-ROMs, put it on your hard drive, whatever, up in the cloud. Because there are a lot of good shows. There's a lot of good information. So this is an hour and 38 minutes. What time is it anyway? 9:09. I love it when it happens. Let's see. Can't trust your YouTube numbers. That's true. But none of that matters. Being an A-lister or being I'm not depending on this for finances. This ain't my job. This is my service to you. Not just I do lots of other stuff, but this is my YouTube. I am like the pebble of love's co-creation in the pond of the World Wide Web. That's all I am. I'm that little pebble. Bing, and it makes bing, 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 bing. Right. And that's why, I can see why Carrot Head uses bing, bong, bing, bing, boom, boom, boom. I love, Carrot Head is the gift that just keeps on giving. And I've so far in the last few weeks had such great conversations with every slice of opinion, right? From woke, liberal, progressive to, super racist, Ku Klux Klan, neocon. And I've made them all laugh, made them all go, you're right. And that's why I know there's not going to be a revolution or really anything bad. But we have to stay on top of it. We have to not let that less of one half of 1%. It's like the dynamics of the finances. When 9 white men have 80% of the wealth in their own hands of this country, that is a recipe for disaster, because these guys are chuckleheads. They're being set up. But you look at history, all through history, the end of empires, and they're all the collapse of the plutocratic state. I mean, every empire, Babylon, Egypt, Mesopotamia, you name it, Persia, Russia, Tsars, you name it, right? And so the thing that keeps the hospitality and the health of a community is the generosity of love's co-creation. And so that's where we got to go with that. Let's see here. See what I can. I have to go use the facilities for a moment.
In the early days of New Who, we couldn't even be certain that Eccleston was actually the ninth, as the eighth Doctor hadn't filmed a regeneration. It wasn't until the next Doctor firmly placed Eccleston as the subsequent incarnation after McGann that the definitive Time Lord lineup was complete. And
okay, Doctor Who. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's Art Bell.
for over 15 years, Mr. Jason Martell has been one of the leading researchers and lecturers specializing in ancient advanced technologies. Mr. Martell's research has been featured worldwide on numerous TV networks: Discovery Channel, History Channel, Sci-Fi Channel, BBC, and others. Today, Mr. Martell is working on his next scientific recreation of ancient technology based on data obtained from the Sumerian cuneiform cylinder seals from 3000 BC. He is also planning several groundbreaking international research expeditions. The expeditions focus on gaining access to ancient Sumerian artifacts and other archaeological relics not currently accessible to the public. In other words, secret stuff. In addition to his research, Mr. Martell is founder of www.booyahmedia.com. How's that for a name? BOOYA, booyahmedia.com, a leading mobile technology company. Here is Mr. Jason Martell. Jason, welcome to Dark Matter.
Hey, Art. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're most welcome. I really am looking forward to this. I want to qualify the beginning of the show here, Jason, by saying I'm kind of a skeptic when it comes to this sort of thing.
Excellent.
However, I am ready for you to try and convince me, because I would love to believe it is so.
Well, I know you're a seasoned pro in these topics, so it's kind of an honor for me to just have these conversations directly with you and see how you respond.
Okay, good. So what we're talking about here is man or something before man. In other words, something so old that it rose up as a civilization of sorts and became extinct before we ever arrived on the planet. Human beings. Is that
Yeah.
fair? Yes.
That's pretty much right on the head, Art. Diving into that a little deeper, basically, when I first started to look into these topics, I was 21. I'm now 39, and I started to be very interested in realizing that most of the ancient cultures that we're aware of, the infamous ones, the Egyptians and Mayans and India and such, they're all referencing a lost culture. Now, we only talk about it as Atlantis or Lemuria, but science has actually been turning the tables in the last 15 years, in that topics like Atlantis or these lost civilizations are really starting to come back into the scientific focus to find cultures that existed beyond what we know of today as Sumer, ancient Egypt, which we put that date at around 3800 BC, is when the civilizations that we know of today kind of sprung up out of the Stone Age.
All right. Is there truly enough time in the evolution of the Earth itself? I'm talking about the Earth itself, for life to have actually started, evolved here on Earth, or was it life, do you think, sent here perhaps already whole and complete?
Well, let me give you a little bit of background on how I got interested in these topics, just for your audience and for you as well, and kind of answer that question. You know, when I was in college, as I mentioned, someone had just kind of mentioned, now, I had no interest in aliens or ancient history or anything. I was a waiter and I was a surfer and just a normal college student. But then someone just kind of mentioned to me that there was possibly pyramids and a face on Mars, and that NASA had taken these photos. And I was very skeptical and was like, why would NASA hide something like that? It turns out, Art, that I was going to school in San Diego, and Malin Space Science Systems was 2 blocks away from me. So as I started to listen to your show and Richard Hoagland and other people, as a young layman college student, I became very interested in, are there actually artificial structures on Mars? So I contacted Dr. Mike Malin directly. Dr. Mike Malin is the principal scientist in charge for the last 30 years of the cameras that we place on all our orbiters.
That's right. I have spoken to him a number of times.
Yes, yes. And so as a college student, I reached out to Dr. Malin and said, listen, is there any possibility that these structures on Mars are artificial? And he said, well, no, these are all natural, sand and wind eroded objects, nothing intelligent to see here. That kind of made my eyebrows raise a little higher, right? So what I started to do is just really take my focus off of Mars, because this is on another planet, when I realized there's structures here all over the Earth that we can't explain. And that's kind of led me on the path of what we're going to talk about tonight.
All right. May I stop you enough to ask if you have reviewed the work of Richard C. Hoagland?
Of course I have. Bought the Monuments of Mars, I think 2 editions, had him sign one, went to his birthday party in Del Mar many years back. I think the first time I met him was at a book signing of yours, which was in Encinitas, California. Again, well over 10 years ago.
I remember.
All right.
All right. Well, I have been a skeptic with Richard as well, although the last time he was on the program here on Dark Matter, he did hit me, Jason, with something that I found. He called it number 9. I don't suppose you've seen number 9, have you?
No.
It's a artifact on Mars, Jason, and the damn thing has a pipe sticking out of it. I mean, you might call it a rock, even though there's other aspects of it that are just startling, but it has a perfectly round pipe sticking out of it. And there's no way, Jason, that this is a natural object. Simple as that. That one got me. So if you have an opportunity to view what's called number 9, it's probably still up on my website. Take a look at that and let me know what you think.
I'll definitely check it out. That's
okay.
He's always been infamous for finding artifacts and things that I guess we're really never going to know until we send a manned mission. But I definitely was very intrigued initially by the Cydonia complex, the geometry and the math being displayed there, which really made me focus on a lot of these ancient cultures and raise the question for me, where do we really come from?
Well, NASA always kind of poo-pooed the face on Mars, right?
Yes, they did. And I even refer to in my lectures sometimes when I show a chronological time range from 76 until, I think, 2009 of various images. And one of them I, to this day, still call the cat box image.
Yeah. But here's the thing I was going to point out, Jason. Even though they poo-pooed it, I noticed they spent a disproportionate amount of time going back to Cydonia. So while they publicly poo-pooed it, they kept going back. Now that's got to mean something.
Right. Well, I think you and I and many of your listeners are on the belief that there is a public space program, and that's publicly reported. There's also a non-public space program, which is a little more hard to track and put our hands around. But I've leaned less on the cover-up at NASA simply because I realize that there's a political backup in that some engineers have been working at NASA for 19 years, making some little arm that's going to be on the rover and this.
That's 852 hertz, helps awaken intuition, connects with the inner guidance and strength of our spirits, loves co-creation. The order of our third eye.
Let's find out what you need to know today. This morning meditation will help you manifest anything that you want with the power of intention, feeling, and sound. And I am so excited to share it with you today. I just learned it from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who learned it from Dr. Pillai. Now, this is an ancient Tamil City tradition. That's where it originates. And it's all about the sound ah. Ah is the universal sound of creation. It's the sound of joy and bliss. Ah has the power to move you beyond your mind and into My dad burned all of
This is 639 hertz, attracts love and connection, heals relationships issues, enhances tolerance, communication, and understanding. I guess we should be playing with amongst Bibi and the Hamas and Hezbollah folk.
Okay, seriously?
Any questions? So tomorrow's going to be Friday, and then Saturday, then Sunday, then Monday, the fun day. Thank you, Martin Luther King. And that's going to be the day, Martin Luther King's Day is going to be the day that Carrot Head gets inaugurated. I love it. Carrot Head is the gift that just keeps on giving. So, are you ready for some woo? So just get yourself some tuning forks and keep playing them. That's all I can say. Remember, get a hold of me if you wish at the dudeawake42 at gmail, dudeawake42 at gmail. And I'll talk to you guys later. Love you. Unless anyone's got something to say, there's one person left. I'll give you, let's see. Ooh, look at that. Right now, it's the time. Okay. 1 minute. 55 minutes and 55 seconds. It was back then. Now let's keep going. But you were there and you had a nice time, and I had a nice time, and thanks for coming. And see if the top chat is the thing that keeps the chat in the box. Okay, so thanks for the 7 thumbs up. And remember to subscribe. And I probably should say that first thing off the bat, but who cares? I just love you all. Okay? Have a good night's sleep. See you in the morning. Catch you later.